drive towards maximization, towards conquering. It's not a country whose power is necessarily based on treaties. And as soon as Assyria's power wanes, it basically stands alone and it falls apart.
Nabopolassar's hard-won victory against Babylonia's ancestral enemy was sweet. He jubilantly praised his triumph, saying, "I slaughtered the land of Assyria. I turned the hostile land into heaps and ruins." The Assyrian, which since distant days had ruled over all the peoples, and with his heavy yoke had brought injury to the people of the land, his feet from Akkad I turned back, and his yoke I threw off. In 605 BC, Nabopolassar died and was succeeded as king of Babylon by his eldest son, Nebuchadnezzar II. He had served as commander of his father's army and soon proved to be the equal of all the great Mesopotamian military leaders who'd gone before.
And he managed to reign for more than 40 years, in the course of which he established Babylonian control over much of the western territories of the former Assyrian Empire.
One of the territories ruled by Nebuchadnezzar was the Palestinian kingdom of Judah. In 600 BC, its king, Jehoiakim, made the unfortunate decision to withhold the annual tribute due to Babylon. Nebuchadnezzar marched west in December 598 and attacked Jerusalem, Judah's capital city and the spiritual center of the Jewish people. In a battle over 3 months, the Babylonian army proved victorious and took Jerusalem. Nebuchadnezzar ordered what is known in Jewish history as the exile, the deportation to Babylon of thousands of Jews, including the king and his immediate family.
One of the ways of stabilizing a conquered territory was to take a political elite and a social elite that had not proved reliable or cooperative and replace them with a new population of people who had no ties to the place.
Nebuchadnezzar had acquired an empire comparable to that of Assyria. Like the Assyrian kings before him, he devoted a great deal of the empire's resources to enlarging his capital city. Babylon rapidly rose to be the greatest and most splendid metropolis in the ancient world.
Those are really efforts that could go into the Guinness Book of Records. The excavator of Babylon estimates that Nebuchadnezzar actually used about 15 million baked bricks in his refurbishment projects of his city.
It appears that Nebuchadnezzar was a perfectionist. The ceremonial gate of Ishtar, with its magnificent carvings of sacred creatures, was rebuilt 3 times. The lions represent the goddess Ishtar, queen of heaven, while a demon called Amashushu signifies Marduk, Babylon's principal god and chief deity of the Mesopotamian pantheon.
From Hammurabi's Taiwan, Marduk is one of the great gods of the Near East. He's not the god of anything in particular, but he managed to conquer the evil goddess, whose name was Tiamat. She was the goddess of the sea. And he takes her body and he splits it in 2. And with the upper part, he creates the heavens, and with the lower part, he creates the earth.
The Ishtar Gate stood at the start of the processional way that led to Babylon's many temples and shrines, and its crowning glory, the ziggurat. This was a spectacular temple, 650 feet tall, known as the Tower of Babel.
Ziggurats throughout Mesopotamian history, they're a sign of religious architecture. They're massive structures. They take a lot of man-hours to build. Only a king with power and wealth can initiate such a project and finish it. And the reasoning behind building the Tower of Babel seems to be personal glory as well.
Within Nebuchadnezzar's magnificent palace were the famous Hanging Gardens. They were said by the Greek historian Herodotus to have been one of the great wonders of the world. The gardens were supposedly constructed for the king's wife, a homesick Persian princess, who found solace in the exotic plants on the terraces, which reminded her of home. However, it is possible that the Hanging Gardens of Babylon may exist only in legend.
Unfortunately, in Mesopotamian sources, we have really no indication of any such thing. On the other hand, it is true that one of the things that a good Mesopotamian king did was cultivate royal gardens in which you could display plants and animals from the empire. This was one of the ways of showing the scale and range of conquest, and therefore giving a kind of living, breathing, green image of power.
Nebuchadnezzar died at the age of 84 in 562 BC. During his reign, Babylon's literature, arts, and sciences flourished. Generous state patronage, a strong economy, and the wealth of conquest gave rise to a golden age in Babylon. But beneath the glittering surface of society, all was not well. Disquiet and disloyalty crept in, and Babylon's next king would declare allegiance to Babylon's ancestral enemy. In June 556 BC, a commoner called Nabonidus became king of Babylon in the aftermath of a violent coup d'etat. He made himself immediately unpopular with the priests and the people at large. Not only did he claim to have been a loyal subject of the Babylonians' old nemesis, Assyria, but he also neglected their principal deity, Marduk, in favor of the god worshipped by his mother.
Nabonidus is very much close to his mother, who seems to be a priestess dedicated to the god Sin, the moon god.
In 549 BC, Nabonidus, who was a genuinely devout man, did the politically unthinkable. He left his young son Belshazzar in charge of Babylon, and for a decade abandoned the country to go and build and restore temples devoted to Sen, the moon god, in Tamar, in southern Arabia, and Haran, in northern Mesopotamia.
The people in Babylon are quite unhappy with Nabonidus because they feel like he has forsaken them.
Belshazzar failed to take seriously the looming threat of Persian imperialism. The Persians and their cultural near neighbors, the Medes, inhabited the eastern highlands beyond the Zagros Mountains and the lands along the Persian Gulf. The Achaemenid dynasty of southwest Persia was rapidly becoming the dominant force in the Near East. These warlike people owed their success to rigorous military training for everyone.
Persian boys had to learn how to ride horses well as the art of archery. And so in these two military tactics, the Persians were quite good.
In 559 BC, a new king ascended the Achaemenid throne. He was Cyrus the Great. A mercurial military strategist, his reputation in history also derives from his supreme negotiating skills and for his clemency and tolerance. In 10 years, he became famous not only for his military prowess, but also for a completely bloodless victory against the Medes.
He is going to take on this amazing campaign of first conquering the Iranian plateau, which was ruled by the Medes. Before the battle, a large number of the Median contingent, their forces actually come to Cyrus and desert the Median ruler. And hence, he's victor before even the battle begins.
Cyrus won victory after victory. By 546 BC, he had amassed a vast empire stretching from Asia Minor in the west to the Persian plateau in the east. All that remained outside his control was Babylon, Mesopotamia's political, cultural, and religious center, and the territories subject to Babylon in Syria, Lebanon, and Palestine. To conquer them would see the birth of a new world empire and the greatest to date in history. Cyrus couldn't resist the challenge.
Babylon is the center of the world, the capital of the world at this time. Once Cyrus steps into Babylonia and the city of Babylon, he pretty much has changed world history. You are now the master of the capital of the world. Now he's going to descend upon Babylonia.
In 539 BC, Nabonidus returned to defend his kingdom, but he was too late. Babylon held out for only a few days. Belshazzar was killed. With characteristic clemency, Cyrus demanded no more than Nabonidus become his prisoner. Cyrus received the submission of all Babylonia, and the people welcomed him as a liberator.
In fact, green twigs are placed before his feet. A state of peace is imposed into the city.